The debt ceiling debate is getting heated, and it doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere fast or a compromise is imminent. Yesterday, the president met with Democrats. Today, he's going to meet with Republicans. Will either side budge, and what are their views? Let's turn to our political insiders. Columnist and Fox News contributor Andrea Tantaros and Fox News contributor Juan Williams. Friends, but they disagree. That's why they're booked. Juan, first off, do you see us getting to a compromise with the president's approach?
Well, you know what? Right now, I think both sides are posturing, Brian, and I think that we're in a game of chicken. Both sides are running towards each other. We'll see who pulls up first. But right now, just a lot of posturing. I don't see that the president has made any strong concessions that would lead us to a compromise, as you described it. And what I see from Boehner, the Speaker of the House, and the other Republicans is they're going to Wall Street to try to reassure them that they are going to get a deal. But they're not making any indication of a willingness to compromise either.
Well, we do have some hard facts, Andrea, don't we? And that is, we want trillions in cuts before we sign off on raising the debt ceiling $2 trillion. That's from the Speaker on Monday.
Yes, and he's talking about future budgets as well, which you can't talk about. You can't mandate Congress, future Congresses, anything binding. So, look, I think Republicans have a very winning message here. People want spending cuts, and they definitely do not want the debt ceiling increase. But you have to do it. It would be catastrophic if you didn't do it. Although I would agree, Democrats have a very potent point, too. You look at the polling. They want taxes for the rich as part of spending cuts. And a lot of people agree with that. And you're right, Brian. No side seems to be budging on this. Where I think is going to be a real issue is Democrats are calling for cuts to big oil. And Republicans have given mixed messages in the past on that one. I think, though, it would be a huge mistake when you look at this. Oil companies, you cut their subsidies. One, they're going to pass it down to the consumer. But two, look who really owns these oil companies. Only 1.5% of oil companies are actually owned by the management. The rest are owned by you, me, Juan, and the viewers. Right. Mutual funds, IRAs.
And, Andrea, let me just tell you something. The American people want the debt ceiling raised. They just want it done responsibly. And it's not the case that people are saying we want huge cuts in general in terms of spending. You look at the argument over Medicare, and you look at the consequences it's having for Republicans. They're hurting, and they might lose a congressional district very shortly because of it.
But you have to reform. You have to reform Medicare at some point.
But you have to reform, but you have to do it in a reasonable way. You can't impose a deadline that threatens our bond rating, interest rates, the strength of the dollar, and say we're going to cut your neck if you don't do it.
Juan, we agree there. We agree there. And I do agree when Republicans said we can't make Medicare part of this deal. Why? Because I want Congress to take their time when they reform Medicare and not do it hastily in 2 weeks.
If you want them to take their time, then let's take the debt ceiling off the table. Let's say we're going to raise the debt ceiling, the responsible thing to do, and then let's negotiate. But the way that Republicans are doing it right now is like holding a gun to the head of the American economy.
But it does seem to me, Juan,
it does seem to me of raising the debt ceiling.
Well, one thing, it seems like the president could use the Republicans as leverage to help get our fiscal house in order and have somebody to blame in the process because he doesn't have the majority in the House. Because we all agree that right now the budget's not working. Juan and Andrea,
I agree with that.
Thanks so much for coming in today.
Have
the debate
a good day,
rages on.
See you, Andrea.
Okay.